everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events. When I welcome you to our program in which I discuss an individual horror film from any different subgenre or decade, and then I bring on a couple of special guests to kind of talk about the film, conversate about the film, and just kind of get into the nitty gritty of that film for you. Now, sometimes these films are very popular films. Other times they are films that you have not seen and have not gotten the love that we believe all horror films should get. Now, the film we're going to talk about today is one of those films that may fall in between if you are a hardcore old school horror fan, or it's going to be a film you've absolutely never heard of whatsoever, or it's going to be a film that you've heard. The infamy surrounding the film will be the reason why you've only heard about it and never bothered to watch it. And that film is April Fool's Day from 1986. And to discuss this movie with me, I have brought on Mr. Dave Watkins to kind of give me his insight on this film. Thank you, Dave, for joining us today.
Good to be back on here. It's not April Fool's Day, but you know.
Oh, we don't want to mistake today for being April Fool's Day now, do we? So this is a very divisive film, and we will get to it. Most of the time, most people know reason why without there ever having seen the movie. Of course, it's in the title itself, which is April Fool's Day.
Right. I would say another good word for describing this would be polarizing.
You know what? That's a good word to call it, polarizing film.
But it is called April Fool's Day. However, it takes that a little too serious. Now, I think the idea about April Fool's Day and there being a bunch of April Fool's Day gags can lend itself to some good horror when those gags make somebody madder than they should. I mean, I think that could be a pretty effective horror film. I mean, I've been kind of annoyed about an April Fool's Day gag somebody pulled on me when my wife pulled one on me one time that I didn't particularly appreciate. She did this thing where she acted like her job had been moved to Orlando, Florida, and it was like. And I was like, okay, I was like, man, this is a bummer. I hate Orlando, Florida. I'm thinking that, but I guess I'm going to have to go. And I'm like, my whole life, I like there the whole day thinking about my whole life was different. I'm like, man, I fucking hate Orlando. But then it's like it wasn't. And I'm like, it's not funny to get somebody like that to they go like at that type of, to me anyway. I like a silly gag now. I like a silly gag that's just like you open the door and something swings at you, or you open the refrigerator and there's like a cut off head in there or something. But that's fine. But for you to sit here and have to think about having to rearrange your whole life and what you're going to do with it, and it's just like, man, I don't know if I want to go there or not. It sucks.
Yeah, well, it is Florida, so that's
yeah. I'm like, man, it's going to be hot. It's going to suck. You got Disney to contend with.
Disney, I think Orlando. I think there's Orlando there too.
That's where it is. It's Disneyland's in Orlando. It's like, holy
or
shit.
no, I was thinking of Universal. I meant to say Universal. I think there's a Universal down there too. I think.
Oh, yeah. There's Universal Studios. I went there one time. It's kind of cool. But I was a kid at the time. It was fun. Had a Back to the Future ride was the best thing there at the time.
I think they've come a long way since that one.
yeah. No, it was cool though, and they had a King Kong. Like, it was awesome. Yeah. That after Hitchcock, like Vertigo, like that falling thing where they like would put you in the it was basically the way that it looks when people fall in those old movies. It looks fake, but they had a way, so they basically had a camera rigged to something that was over you, and you sat in one place, and then the camera went up, and it made it look like, and you have a green screen behind you, it made it look like you were falling. So it was pretty cool. I didn't get to do it. My brother did it, and they recorded him doing it, but it was pretty cool.
Nice. So, I have to ask, when did you see this film, and what were your general impressions of the film?
So, I didn't see it when it first came out, 1986. This is it was kind of, the slasher heyday started around 78. So this was kind of getting long in the tooth for the slashers at this point. I saw it when it came on USA Up All Night, I believe, something like that, with commercials. And there was like a slasher marathon. Probably played with some other horror movies. And I was digging the film. I mean, I think it has a good vibe to it, and the actors are having a great time here. You can tell
Yeah.
they're all into it. Now, if I was in it, I'd be into it too. But 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 it's what bothers. It's like there's a twist ending in this that kind of destroys everything. Even though you know it's called April Fool's Day, it's just there's certain things that happen in this film that there's no way they could happen in real life. So I don't know. But it's just like when it hits and then there's a double twist ending that's just as bad, which we'll get to that when we get to it. But it's
So I'm like you. I don't really remember exactly when I first saw this film because I saw it on TV. So I don't know
yeah.
how far removed it was from the very first time that it was released to when I actually saw it. I only ever before we did the podcast and I watched it for the podcast, I'd only seen it once. So whenever I saw it was a really long time ago, and I'd forgotten everything about the movie except for the ending. Now, I did talk with either you or one of our other guests about the fact that whatever impression I had as a kid on this movie was enough for me to
Yeah.
have stolen some of the ideals from this film for my own personal short story slash novella that I wrote when I was
Well,
young.
I think like we said, we talked about this
Yeah,
a little bit before. You say stolen. I think that's a little harsh. A little harsh.
I think you say a little harsh because of the fact because of the impression this movie makes on you in general. But
Well, no, I think that you took you basically took the idea and you made your own
I
sort of
did,
thing.
I
Like we were
did.
talking about, like so many people, like Roger Corman, will take the plot from Aliens or not Aliens, Alien, and then he'd make like five other movies. Just take that same plot, and it's like they would get to the point where they wrote a different script and they go to shoot it, and they're like, you know what, we don't have money for this. Let's do another Alien movie. You know,
Because they already had everything, yeah. Yeah, but I remember the story I wrote, but I didn't remember the movie until I rewatched it.
yeah. And
And
then
I
you're
was
like, damn, I wrote this movie.
like,
It's like,
so, so that has to leave that like I whatever this movie did when I was younger in late 80s, it didn't leave enough of an impression on me for me to go back and rewatch it. But it left enough of an impression on me when I was a kid for me to use some of the ideals for my own project. Now,
right, yeah. I mean, it left a pretty big impression on you if you took the ideas. I mean, I think though the idea of this film is kind of standard, like
yeah,
slasher fare. It is a slasher film. It's just which there are some pretty eerie things in here that end up being gags, but there are some. It's a pretty cool build up, and I mean, I would have liked it a lot better had it not turned out to all be April Fool's Day joke, but I do like some of it, the way that it builds up. Now, one scene that in particular that's always stuck in my mind from the first time I saw it is the well sequence where the girl falls into the well and
mhm,
there's these dead bodies in the well and she flips out and I mean that really like I remembered that and I was like, wow, this is kind of cool when I was
yeah,
watching it. And that's one of the scenes too where it's like, how the hell did they like? It's like there's like too many like these questions of like
logic.
logic, like how do they know she's going to fall into the
Yeah.
well for one thing, and falling into a well is very dangerous. How do they know she's not going to get hurt?
Mhm.
But yeah, there's like, but you have to kind of put those questions aside. But at the same time, there it's
Hard.
way too hard not to think of it. Even like, I mean, I can let a lot of stuff slide on for suspension of disbelief, but this really insults your intelligence.
I think it does. I think you're right. I think the problem is that once you know the gag at the end, it's hard to rewatch the film because, in a sense, when they do a film like this successfully, you want to go back and rewatch it and figure out all the pieces that you missed and just didn't pick up. And that makes the whole thing make sense. But with this film, when you do that, half the stuff doesn't make sense. It's all happenstance. And it's like
Yeah.
too many pieces have to fit in line for this other thing to happen. And that could be a problem. No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I agree with you that, which is probably why I never went back to rewatch the movie again.
Now, yeah, yeah, a couple of things about rewatching the film. So there's a new version of this out from it's a 4K UHD version from Kino Lorber. I haven't seen it yet, but they do have a 4K transfer of the film. The version I have and the version you probably saw is the Scream Factory
Yes.
release on Blu-ray, but that looks really good in itself. I'm sure this 4K transfer looks better, but to me, this Blu-ray from Scream Factory looks awesome.
Yeah. No, I agree with
It,
you on that one. Scream Factory, we all know they do some amazing work with some of these cult films, these smaller films out there that like
but yeah, I mean they're less. I mean, yeah, maybe they're putting out a few things now, but it seems like they're less hands-on than they used to be. Back when they produced this particular release, they were like really awesome at their at with their special features, which are good, and the restoration for April Fool's Day. And it has a nice vibe to this film. The location is like a secluded house, almost like a rental. It's not really a cabin, but it's like a rental house. And there's a lot of. It's on an island. They have to go to this island and on a ferry briefly, and just the dock and all the scenery looks really cool.
yeah.
And look, and it's really enhanced even by the Blu-ray. I imagine in the 4K it looks even better.
Yeah. And that's the thing about this. I think you hit it on the nail when you said that there's a lot of the typical slasher tropes are in this film. Because we start off with a bunch of strangers or barely know each other who are meeting at this dock to go to this party at on the island, and they're all unsuspecting, and they all don't really know our main character that much. Is Muffy,
But Muffy St. John.
yeah, Muffy St. John. I wanted to make sure I didn't get the twin mixed
Yeah,
up
yeah.
between the two just yet. So
Muff,
Muffy
yeah, but
St. John.
Muffy's played by Deborah Foreman, who was a she was in Waxwork, the first Waxwork. The character was replaced in the second Waxwork, but I really like the actress, and she does a really good job here in this film.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I generally like a lot of the actors in this film. They seemed authentic up until the big reveal at the very end. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the Muffy character is the first scene of the film's kind of interesting. Before the people get on the dock, like Muffy's. Well, I guess before there's two scenes. There's a scene on the dock that
Hmm.
starts off of a camera point of view,
Yeah.
where the characters are introduced by doing some interviews, and it's a really good way to establish these characters
Yeah.
because we get to like find out several things about them, like the first guy. Chaz is on the camera, which we don't see him at first. And then two guys, Arch Cumming, who's played by Thomas F. Wilson, who played Biff in Back to the Future, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then he's hanging out with Skip, this other dude, and then we are introduced to Kit Graham. Now, Kit Graham is the protagonist of the film, who's played by Amy Still, who played the main character in Friday the 13th Part 2, the final girl from that.
Mhm.
And when we see her camera interview, she doesn't want to talk, which tells a lot about the camera. She's like, I don't want to do a camera interview. Go on to the next one. And then the next girl named Nikki, she's all about talking, and she talks very uh candidly and very says she fucks on the first date to the camera. So it's a so it's like a two different it's a good it's really
Okay.
interesting way of contrasting the characters and like the two good guys are having fun. One girl doesn't want to talk, the other girl is very no inhibition whatsoever.
Hmm. I
And
I kind of noticed that too. The way that they reintroduce all the characters really fast on this, because it is one of those, and this is what's missing. And I hate to say it's missing in a lot of more recent movies, low budget films that I've seen. Is like they try and stuff all these characters that we all know are going to die eventually in the movie, but we don't get to know the characters really well, and they don't do a really good introduction. This movie does a really good introduction for the characters, especially when was it the Rob character is the one who's running late, and so we don't get all of them all at once, but
yeah.
we get
Yeah.
enough of their little personalities, and then our other main character Rob shows
Yeah.
up late.
It is slightly overwhelming to be thrown these characters, but it is nice that they stagger it so it's not
Yeah,
like all in your face right away. And they do have this between that. They have the camera interview and then they have the opening credits, which are kind of puzzling. There's like a birthday party footage mixed in from an older birthday of Muffy's, and you have Muffy in her basement putting mannequins together, and she's talking to like a older lady who's leaving, and she's that I guess that wait, maid's not the right word for that type of
House-
person.
Housekeeper.
Housekeeper. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna call her a maid,
Yeah.
but yeah, she's the housekeeper and she's leaving. But it's like, but it's weird that she's putting these mannequins together. And later on, we see some mini mannequins of all the characters, and we see the birthday party footage, and then it ends with like she has a Jack in the Box, and then and then at the end, the Jack in the Box opens and a monster comes out of it, and we don't see that again until the end of the movie. But all of that makes you think that something a lot more crazy is going on than what really is, especially when you get into the second gag or the second ending of the film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
You think there's something else going on, which is interesting because that sequence there kind of gives us a little suspense, and kind of like the idea that this Muffy character isn't all there, or she's hiding something. It's well filmed, it's well done when she's down in her little basement doing this, doing with the things with the
yeah.
mannequins. And as we're trying to suss out why is she down there in the basement with the mannequins. What's that got to do with the story? Blah blah blah. That's more or less a thematic thing because obviously, it's the artificiality of a whole bunch of mannequins down there, and the whole thing that she's doing is very artificial and a setup and all that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. It then so but it's nice that it breaks it up because then we start off with introducing some characters camera point of view. Now we go back to the dock
mhm.
again, and at the dock we see the camera operators. The guy's name's Chaz, and that guy has a. I mean, they're all in it about the same amount, but he's not just. Sometimes you have a camera operator, and it's just like you don't get to see him too much, but he really becomes a character after that. And then a new person arrives named Nan Youngblood, and she's got a lot of luggage. Um, so and she says, Nikki, who's the one with no inhibitions, she says, "Are you planning on staying a while?" And Nan's like, "No, I just I work for no, just some work finals. I'm behind." So she
Yeah,
goes to school with Buffy, and they're in some kind of theater class. And so she says she's volunteered to help Muffy with the costumes,
yeah.
and she also likes to sew. So this is something that happens. This is like the only time we hear this, and then it comes. It's important later, but right, not for a long time. By the time it is important, you've forgotten this scene.
Yeah, you've forgotten it, but it all has to deal with what we finally end up getting to towards the end.
Right.
A lot of
And
this
then-
stuff is very subtle in the
yeah.
very beginning. Like I said, the way this is set up is like your typical slasher movie, so you're not picking up on stuff like that the first time you're watching the movie.
Yeah, here's some other dialogue. Like Kit says, "Did you see her in Ghost?" Which I assume is another a name of a play. She's referring to Muffy, and
Mhm.
Nan's like, "Yeah, she's so talented." And then Kit says she walks away as her face drops. Apparently, like she doesn't agree. She thinks he's like Nan's like a suck up or something. It's a cool. There's a lot of cool little like acting things going on between the characters that aren't necessarily followed up too good, but it's just an interesting little back and forth between the characters. Um, and then the ferry drops up and bumps into the dock, and then you're saying like the other guy shows up, Rob, who's like played by Ken, I believe you pronounce his name Olandon. Oh man, I butchered that pretty bad,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's the actor. I recognized him immediately from Leprechaun.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but he's one of the main characters in Leprechaun. I think he's like second bill. Well, I guess he's third build after his Warwick and then Jennifer Aniston and then him.
That is if
But
Jennifer Aniston was first billed back in those days.
yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
she was second build in it in that
Jesus.
in Leprechaun. But this I was going to see that it seemed like he was in something else, but
Well, he was a soap opera actor for a really long time. I think it was Young and the Restless that he was in.
yeah, I missed that one. I don't know.
That's why, surprisingly, I grew up with three women in my household, so I was
Yeah.
very familiar with soap operas during the
No,
summer. So I knew,
yeah, I've seen some. I've seen some soap operas, but not that one. Did you
yeah,
recognize them though when you're watching Leprechaun? You're like,
I
holy
did. I
shit!
recognized them from Leprechaun. I didn't recognize them from this because this was in the fucking 80s.
Right, right.
Uh,
What did that? when you saw him, did you know his character name from the soap opera and you call him by that?
I don't remember that shit, dude. I just remember seeing him like that. It's the same with
Yeah,
like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I remember seeing her in soap opera. Everyone starts off in soap operas because it's like a real paycheck
yeah,
for
yeah.
most of these actors, and then they move on to bigger and better things. Most actors do that, you know.
Some. But yeah, then yeah, but the first thing that happens where they get on the boat, and then the first crazy thing that happens is there's a guy named Buck on there, and there's a little bit of lead up to it. Buck is one of the guys who is working on the boat,
Hmm.
but
He works
um,
for the ferry, and you see him practicing this whole throwing with the rope to try
yeah,
and lasso, like I forget what you want to call it when he's lassoing the to tie off the boat, but he misses it in that pre-set up sequence.
yeah.
Um,
But
he
there, yeah, we missed a character though. Actually, there's a character named Hal or Hal Edison Jr. and he pops in and he's kind of talking. He's a fast talking, a slightly Southern accent, and there everyone seems to
oh
be
yeah,
very off put by him. Uh, but he comes in and he's like fast talker. He's like trying to. He seems like he's going to be a salesman or something. He's wearing like a shirt and khaki pants, but they treat him like almost like he's riffraff a little bit. But he's dressed up too nice to be treated that way. It seems like.
well, he has an alternative. He wants to. I think is he trying to buy something or sell something to.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so he has an alternative for being there. Like he has like a purpose, unlike everyone else who's kind of there just to have fun for the weekend type of thing.
yeah.
He's
But
trying to
there,
get close up to Muffy in order to kind of uh, get them to either invest into something. I can't remember if it was investing in something or something like that, but yeah.
yeah, so yeah, but then the Biff character, the Biff, the Arch character played by Biff, the actor who plays Biff, him and the Skip character is Muffy's. What'd you say? She's Muffy's cousin, is what they
Yeah,
say originally.
yeah,
But they're playing some kind of prank with this switchblade, and
yeah.
it ends up going bad. One of them ends up in the water, and including the butt guy, and somehow the boat runs into the dock and he comes up and his face is all jacked up and some really awesome makeup that would have taken several hours to put on it if here it's done immediately, but you would think that he really got hurt, and then they take him away and he's cussing them all out, blaming them
Yeah.
all. So then they think that he might be the killer later on.
A red herring.
Yeah, red
But it's
herring.
really well done. Like your typical slasher film has like someone who gets maimed or disfigured or something, and then he comes back for revenge, sort of like The Burning, and I'm trying to think of some other slashers.
Yeah, like Friday the 13th Part
Yeah,
5. But it doesn't, it kind of reminds me of Friday the 13th Part 5. The character
it
in
does.
that film doesn't do this, but he doesn't do it here either. But it is like, I do remember that scene too, standing out when I watched it the first time. That's another scene that I did. That's a scene I definitely remember from the first viewing of the film.
Oh, I remember that image too, of him disfigured after he comes out of the water, and it's like
Yeah.
that's a very famous image that's get like I guess passed down through the decades in horror film lore.
Yeah.
But I remember that being from this film, but I don't remember. I never remember the film itself.
Right, right. But then they get there to the house, and then they're basically they're sitting at a table, and there's like little dolls. All their table settings have little dolls, and there's a bunch of little April Fool's Day gags. It's
Yeah,
pretty fun, you know. It's definitely fun for a large portion of this film. The way that they keep kind of playing gags on each other, it's like, and there's a very interesting scene in the kitchen. Like three of the women, they're reading like a magazine that asks questions about sex, and it's kind of a playful scene. And apparently, what they're saying is the director wrote that scene because he heard them doing that on the set when they were just hanging out, and he's like, "That's it's one of the better scenes though because of the way it just seems very natural when it happens."
yeah. A lot, and that's the thing. A lot of those scenes with these characters actually all seem kind of natural, and they would be like this for this Muffy party because it seems to be like they're like even though they're hand picked, they're like kind of the more upper middle class.
Right, right.
people here with the Hal being like the really high, or at least he thinks he's high end. When we first see him steal the cigars, we don't think he's so high end because he steals the cigars. So
Yeah, yeah. They all, yeah. They all. I don't. They seem like to not like him right away. That Hal character,
yeah,
because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like they read the script already or something. So
Well, the thing is, I like a lot of the gags in here. Like, I think it's Arch who keeps falling in the chair backwards, and
yeah, yeah. It's kind of
like
funny. Yeah,
every chair he sits in has the
yeah,
breakaway freaking legs, which is just hilarious to see him like that. Or when Hal, after stealing the cigar, it blows up in his face, which we all know that prank that
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So I like a lot of the little pranks that happen, even because it is April's Fools, and even though we don't know how at this point we don't know how the film's going to end, these little gags help us recognize what day it is for the film. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is at April. I mean, there's not that many April Fool's Day films. This one really embraces the holiday, or I don't. Well, it's not really a holiday, but it's a day that it really embraces it. It really does right by the April Fool's Day. It
yeah,
doesn't do right by a horror film, but but it does like have it does have a feel of April Fool's Day. It does feel that way throughout the film.
so I want to
And
go ahead
yeah,
first.
no, I was just gonna say another gag
Go ahead.
like it's the whoopee cushion that they're
Oh
pranking
yeah,
people, So it's
like
yeah,
it's these gags that all of us would have done when we were
yeah,
younger.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And here they are, yeah, they're definitely way too old to be doing this, but it's fine, because this is like something that 12 or 13-year-olds probably would have been doing, and
Yeah.
they're like way too old to be doing it, but it's still funny though.
Yeah, because I get the sense that these are all college students doing this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, so this isn't like the like a teens doing this. This is more like college students doing this.
yeah,
And they're still laughing at how stupid these jokes are as they're going on. But I did want to bring up something that you brought up already. I'm gonna want to highlight again because I didn't dawn on me till you mentioned it. That this feels very much like a Friday 13th Part 5 type of film because
yeah,
in that film we don't ever really see the Jason character because it's almost always off screen until the big reveal at the end. And this does it very similar like that. We like see
yeah.
almost like the reactions to each kill, but not really the kills. And so it's kind of a subterfuge to the audience because we all think we're seeing really good kills, but we're not.
Yeah. Right, right. And it's smart. It's smart in a way that it does things that couldn't happen.
Yeah,
Because you're thinking if someone falls in a well, if somebody gets a rope around their leg and ends up upside down, or if somebody gets a boat rammed into a dock, that it was like too dangerous to do that type of
yeah.
thing
Well,
to a person. It's like you're like that could end when you accidentally killing somebody.
well, that's the funny thing because the Arch character says that at the end of the film when he's hanging upside down when he's in the snare and the snake's there. He's like that. Well, we weren't expecting that snake to
Yeah.
be there, so
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. And I think the snake was like I don't think it was. I mean, it wasn't a poisonous snake. It looked like a garden snake, but still.
well, the ideal is that I like even yeah. Well, it's always an April Fool's joke, but the ideal that not everything went as planned, and they kind of were, and the Buffy character kind of or Muffy character. Jesus, I'm getting confused the whole night. The Muffy character slash Buffy character gets, they don't get everything right, but everything seems to work out in her favor.
Yeah,
Except for the
yeah,
logic. Because not only is the boat scene with what's his name, I can't even remember that, Buck,
Buck, yeah,
his whole incident does seem like, oh, that's very far-fetched. That like you said, it would take hours to do something like that fake
yeah,
wise. And the whale sequence is another huge one. That's like happenstance that like there's a lot of things, a lot of dominoes have to be put in just the right order for all that shit to fall down perfectly the way it does in the film. And so I think that's the suspension of disbelief that that audiences have with this film. So
yeah. you gotta have it. I mean, to have that when you're watching it the second time, you have to be able to enjoy it. But
Yeah.
the first time you're watching it, because the gags are are so unrealistic that I mean, the realistic that it could happen, but it's unrealistic that it could be a gag that because of that, it makes you think it's really happening for
Mhm.
most of the running time of the film.
So
Yeah, especially like even like the first kill is Arch who, when he goes on that rope and it pulls him upside down and there's a snake and it's like no, that's not something that would I mean, just you say it takes a lot of moving parts to put that into place
yeah.
and then what if you're like trying to pull the guy upside how the hell do you pull somebody that big upside down with a rope, you know what I'm saying? And it's like and then how you not hurt him too when he let him down, you know?
Good point. Good point.
But it's
Uh,
a lot of risk. There's a lot of risk here, and it would they do a gag like specifically that, and what she wants to do eventually, it would require some major insurance. So you'd have to, you'd have to like have people sign forms,
yeah, well, yeah, well, yeah, most definitely. Well, the first person that actually gets killed, so to speak, is of course Skip, who is he feels responsible
Oh
for
yeah, yes, you're right.
Buck.
Yeah, forgot about
Uh,
Skip. Yeah,
yeah, Skip feels he like walks out of the party drunk and stuff like that, and he feels responsible for what happened to Buck. And so therefore, when he is the first to get killed, we actually kind of feel a little sympathy for him, because he's the only one that gets that way.
yeah.
Before,
It is kind of funny the way they don't really give a shit, It's
yeah,
like most of the people. It's like he blame, especially like the Arch character. Like it's like kind of his fault, and he's like not caring.
yeah.
He's like playing gags and laughing. They're like, oh, that guy just threatened us. Haha, his face is messed up for the rest of his life.
And
But there is like a scene at the table where Muffy gives a toast and talks about friendship. It's kind of a interesting toast.
okay.
We see we see like her personality as Muffy. Now the next morning she's a completely different acting person. She's which is weird because it's 2 days. So April Fool's Day is one day. So which day is April Fool's Day? The first day in the movie or the second day? So I guess April Fool's Day weekend.
That's what I got the impression. April Fool's Day weekend. That's like a weekend party. So I'm not 100% sure which day was actually April Fool's Day. But the way that they portray it with the Muffy character, the first day would be April Fool's Day, and the second day would just be the second.
Yeah.
Because she does all the gags in the first day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is a after everybody starts going to sleep, there's like weird stuff in their bedrooms. They all got
Yeah.
different bedrooms and they start seeing newspaper articles and there's an article taped to the door about six dying in a fog, just to kind of build up some mystery around the Chaz and Nikki character have a sex scene. Suddenly they have sex, which
Yeah, you wonder how if they knew each other before this or they just kind of hooked up
yeah, yeah,
during this, because the thing is that's the one thing we don't know completely is how much each of these characters know each other and the Muffy character. Some of them know no, I think it was it named Nina? She knows Muffy very well, but some of the others barely know
Nikki.
her at all.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. It is kind of like a kind of half thing, and Nikki seems to be not. She seems to be very promiscuous, and so
Yeah.
she probably maybe just met Chaz. Chaz, I don't know. Yeah, it's
She,
just
their conversations on the dock while he was filming her were a lot more interesting than what we see
yeah,
to
yeah,
lead
yeah,
up to that, because they have no problem getting into bed with each other.
yeah. It's yeah. Maybe she was like flirting with him really because he was the camera operator, and when she says that, she's specifically flirting with him. And implying that's what she wants to do, what she
Yeah.
says what she wants to fuck on the first date, talking about him specifically. It's, the
Yeah.
audience may assume she's talking to them because she's looking right at the camera at the audience, but no, unfortunately, talking to this other guy. So
That's okay. Her character's really fun in the movie.
yeah,
Her
yeah.
character's really fun in the movie. I'm trying to think of who's next. Oh,
Well,
you were
yeah,
talking about Muffy and the way she's changing because she's not fully dressed when the characters first see her in the morning, and then she rushes out of the room to get dressed. Uh,
yeah.
a
She keeps
red
saying weird.
flag.
She's saying like weird stuff too.
Yeah,
She's like, "Oh, I'm not dressed. I forgot to get dressed." Like, and just acting weird in general.
yeah.
Now, of course, we hear earlier on from when Nan arrives that she is. They talk about how she's really good in this play. So she's really good at playing the actor. I
Hmm.
mean, the character is really good at acting, and so but she's acting really bizarre. And could it be on purpose, or is there a twin named Buffy that,
Well,
that
I will say this. This film does a really good job trying to craft a reason for everything. The story that Muffy is trying to tell with the house and with everything that's happening. The twin, the which we they have pictures of the twins that we see later, and everything else with all the stuff that you mentioned just now,
yeah,
that the people find in their rooms that obviously are clues. Now, they're all fabricated in the way they're in the room, so that should give you a clue right there that something's not right exactly. Um, but they don't see that at first. It's like someone just left these newspaper articles around and the S&M stuff that they find in the
yeah.
drawer and stuff like that, you know.
Right, and it looks like there's a little bit of like, and then there were none going on from Agatha Christie or the Ten Little Indians, because
Mm,
it seems like that's how the people in Ten Little Indians, which I would usually call it that, but
yeah.
it's they were all guilty of some crime, and it kind of sort of makes it look like these people are guilty of some sort of crime
Yeah.
for each of them, and some of them are do act guilty when they see the whatever it is that
Yeah.
she's planted.
Yeah, I think it's Nan who actually believes that the stuff that she found was geared towards her, which is why she ends up acting the way she does. Um, and then of course, at the end, Muffy has to remind them that she didn't know that any of these clues and these little tidbits would actually be functional or appear to be part of any of the people she brought there. So it was an accident.
Yeah,
Um,
but yeah, it does make it as if you don't know the twist, it does make it the first time you're watching it, you make it think it's like a Ten Little Indian
yes, it
situation where
does.
people
It
are
definitely
being
does.
killed because they did some crazy thing like drunk driving and killed somebody. Like I know what you did last summer or something, you know.
Oh,
So,
good point. Yes,
yeah,
most definitely. Yep, yep, yep. And I didn't think about that. I should have thought about that actually. As much as the whole Agatha Christie Tin Little Indians references used to be in horror films, because it's a natural, you know, you have
yeah.
these characters that you bump off one by one for a reason that they're related or they have something to do with the main killer. You know. Um,
Right, right, yeah, yeah. Like, but they don't. Most slasher films are kind of like that, but they
mhm,
don't
yeah,
usually. The characters are, and most of the time, they got rid of that one plot where everybody's guilty of something. Yeah, most of them don't deal with that, but this one does, or they imply it a little bit, make you does a callback to that to make you think that that's what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
It's yeah, but the first dead body that we see is Skip, like
Hmm.
Rob and Kit. Now Kit's Rob, of course, is the guy from Leprechaun, and Kit's the actress from Friday the 13th Part Two, but they are boyfriend and girlfriend. They have been already before it's
Yep.
established, and then they go into the boathouse and they're gonna like have sex in the boathouse on the floor in the middle of the day, which is good for them, but it's a little risky. It's a little risky. Somebody might walk in on them,
Well, someone is spying on them, but
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, it is a little. They have a bedroom; they could go to the bedroom and do it there. And
much
that's
more
another.
romantic to go
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
boathouse.
yeah, yeah. More, the boathouse is much more comfortable than the bedroom, clearly. But they had to do this in the boathouse because otherwise they would not have been able to see the dead body under the boathouse. That's another one of the things where it's like neither one of them are in on it. They go to have sex in the boathouse where they could have done it in their bedroom,
Uh-huh.
and then they happen to be there looking under through the boards in the boathouse, and then they see a dead body floating under the boathouse,
Yeah.
which is Skip. And
Happenstance. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah. Yeah, because it's like, how do they know somebody's going to be in the boathouse having sex? You know,
yeah.
so they can plant a dead body there for them to see it.
Yeah, they'll wait for Skip to just already be in makeup and then just waiting to be discovered by somebody. We don't know who
Yeah,
yet or where, but he's going to get discovered by somebody somewhere
yeah,
at some
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Right, right. That's another thing is like once somebody's killed, where do they go? Like, there's a lot of people, and it's like, and you got like people running around frantically trying to hide, and then where do all the people that get killed go? You know, are they hanging out in the boathouse or is
Actually, that's a good
it?
point. I didn't even think about that, dude.
Yeah. Man, there's way too much logic. I guess it's fun that we're going through this thing because I can point out each thing one at a time as we going through it, you know.
I
But yeah,
honestly did not think about that. Yeah, where are they putting these people after they die?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know how big the island is. We never know where they're hiding at, but
Yeah, but
if
then
they,
they wouldn't know when to show back up.
yeah, and how the hell, these people are not regular. I mean, they are regular people. They're people who are there to drink, have a good time, and then they got to go act like they're dead for half a day. And how they gonna like, it's boring acting like you're dead.
Uh,
It's
well, the
Can you
other the other thing
imagine?
is they could be using mannequins to replace the real people, and the real people are off somewhere just partying until the end. I don't
Yeah,
know, and we don't get that sense of where that could possibly be on the island because from our perspective and the information that we're giving, this house is pretty much the only thing on this little island. Really,
yeah,
yeah,
right. Yeah, it seems to be that, and it's like what? Yeah, again, it's like suspension of disbelief, but still, though,
yeah.
it's really hard to believe to not believe some of this. But then they run back. They skip. Rob and Kit run, try to get everybody else, and they find a switchblade that's broken in half at that point. That was they were playing with earlier. And then no, they don't find the dead body. It's gone, and Muffy comes out saying more weird stuff, acting bizarre.
Yeah.
And then that's when Arch goes into the woods, and then it's when he gets caught in that rope track we talked about earlier. And there's a snake and all that. And then you see a person wearing boots walks up to him, and he looks up and he's shocked, and that's how that ends. And then not too long after that, see, we're kind of in this is about 46 minutes into it. Was it? I think it's
Oh,
about an hour and
really?
a half.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's like really, and it goes full slasher for a while because we got a lot of people that have to be killed in a short period of time.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It-
You're right.
yeah, and then the well happens right after that. Like Hal and Nikki go to the well to get water for whatever reason, but then and then they drop the bucket in there, and then they drop the flashlight, and Nikki goes down the ladder into the well to get the flashlight, like because Hal's like too much of a chicken to do it. But like really, like it's not really a chicken because like who the hell would go into a well to go get the flashlight? I'd be like, okay, the well can have the flashlight. It's
Oh
like
no! Remember, they're going down there to get the bucket because the bucket
oh
falls down there
yeah,
because it wasn't tied off. And then they were like, "Well, they don't want to go. They don't want to go without water the entire time they're down there." So, she goes down there because Hal won't go down there because
yeah.
he's a chicken. Uh,
I still think I don't. I mean, yeah, he's a chicken, but I think he's a little smart. I mean, obviously, you're not going to let Nikki or a girl go down there or a woman go down there by herself, or you would go down there instead of her. But she's definitely very strong
oh
minded.
yeah,
She's going to do whatever she's going to do. Um,
which I like her for.
yeah,
She's not a weak and meek female character. This is 86. She's gung ho and she'll go straight down there. She's not the character we're thinking is going to do that at the very beginning of the film, but she's very open with everything. She's like I said, she'll sleep
yeah,
with the guy that she wants to sleep with whenever she wants to sleep with him, and she'll be gung ho by everything else. She's like a very progressive woman in that respect. So
right, right. And she falls down in there, and there's like two dead bodies in there. It's like Skip and Arch are in there. Their bodies are, and then how I was able to get her out eventually, and then they all meet back in the house and they call the police. Like Rob calls the police, and the police are in on it too. There's like a police who there's a cop which this is actually a weird scene
Which
because
one?
he calls the hospital. No, he called here. Yeah, all right. He calls the police, but somehow the cop is at the hospital. But how does he get on the phone at the hospital from him calling him from the house? Like, what did they go? Did the police station dispatch? They switch him over to the hospital? I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I didn't think about that either. Damn it, you're right.
Yeah, I was like, it seems like because when you're watching, it's like, okay, he's calling, he's talking to the guy on the phone. It's not like I mean, now we have cell phones. Yeah, the cop's going to be on his cell phone in the hospital, but the cop is on the hospital phone talking to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm over here with what's his name, Butch, or the guy that got his face all jacked up, Buck. He's like, I'm
Oh
over here with Buck, and he's fine. And so they're all like, they're thinking it was Buck. They think Buck like escaped and came after him, and they're like, oh man, Buck's at the hospital
yeah.
still, so it's not Buck. So and then like there's a scene where Muffy acts weird again. Kit goes into her room and she looks at the newspaper articles, and then Muffy's like shows up at the door, and she tells her that the constable's unlikely to get there anytime soon because of the tide and all that. And she says it in a way that's very like it's very like threatening almost, that she's saying he's not going to get here,
Yeah.
we're screwed, sort of thing. And very like almost like she's like in Looney Tunes land when she does that.
Looney Tunes Land. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like Looney Tunes or like Looney Bin, like
Yeah.
she says it
Well,
like she's insane, like she's
it's
in.
part of the persona she's portraying from the
Yeah,
Buffy character.
right, yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
But
I mean, she's playing the Buffy, her sister, her twin sister, but
twin
she
sister.
but she plays it in a like if she makes herself like quite obvious that she's playing the killer, but they all know Muffy to a certain degree, so they're thinking it's still her, even though it's she's playing her sister. And so then, yeah, then they all start splitting up and they go back to their own rooms. And this is like where they make a big mistake that they typically do in these
In
type
horror
of
films.
movies. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be if they all just stayed in the same room, it would be really hard to fake kill anybody else. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the elements of this film because that makes it, or an '80s movie. Because nowadays we know that as a cliche when the group splits up and they think they're gonna solve something, but that's when they all get picked off one by one. But for this film, it almost feels like these characters are like they feel danger is around them, but they don't really. I don't want to say trust everyone. They do have some reservations
Yeah.
what could be happening, but it's kind of like, and we've seen this in certain other slasher movies where the people don't know who the killer is, and so they no longer trust each other, and because these all characters don't really know each other that well to begin with, it's easier for them to break apart like that.
Right. You're right. Well, I guess, but
Yeah, but you're thinking, nah, man, this is a logic thing. We just need to separate
I,
them so we can kill them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they have to. But like they go upstairs, like I there's still like I guess there's still uh all right.
Oh,
When
Dave,
Nikki and Chaz go back upstairs
they
and
go
they're
back. Goes,
all right. So
oh,
all
Dave,
right,
you're
all right.
trying. You're trying so hard. It's so funny to
Yeah, yeah.
see.
So here's some part where like in logic later on. Now, all right, let's go ahead and I guess go ahead. Let's go ahead and talk about before I talk about this because we need to talk about what basically every here's another issue.
Okay.
They're fake killing people, and it's all
Yes.
a gag. But the people who are getting killed don't know they're getting killed until they get killed. So each time somebody gets killed, they have to be talked into playing along
Uh-huh.
with the game. And here, this is like a very Friday the 13th scene. Like Nikki and Chaz are in the bed, and then Nikki goes to the bathroom or whatever, and Chaz gets killed, kinda. and she comes back in, and Chaz has got like a mask over him. But that's a very brief amount of time. She goes to the bathroom, and can you imagine just one person, like if Muffy shows up in there, and she's like, "Hey, Chaz, here's the gag," she has to explain it to him. What if one person's just like, "No, I'm not going along with this. This is stupid," you know? And here's Nikki's like in the next room, like taking a shit or whatever, and like, but then and then how's she not like here? Like if Muffy's gonna sneak up on there and fake kill Chaz and surprise him for the audience, for us to think that she killed him, and then how's Nikki not going to hear any of that?
Oh, that's a good point.
But I don't know. Another nitpick. I mean, there's, but
So
yeah,
no, I was about to say. So when I was rewatching the film, I tried to rewatch it, having not like I was recognizing some of the stuff as I was rewatching it, but I was trying to watch it as someone who had never seen the film before, even though some of it was coming back to me as I was watching it. I should have probably looked at it more like, can I figure out the holes in the movie? But it's there's so many glaring ones. Like like we said before, so many things have to go perfectly in order to make the logic for the film pan out. But are we being entertained by each of these incidences that are very exaggerated? And like you have to think that each one of these people who would get killed have to buy into the overall concept in a very short amount of time, because the Muffy character doesn't really have time to explain everything to each
yeah,
person that she kills. That's hard to think about when you're rewatching
yeah.
it. It's like
Yeah, can you imagine though too, like when she comes in there to act like she's gonna kill him, and she's like in that psycho mode, acting mode, and then she has to switch to her other self to be like, "Oh, by the way, this is all April Fool's Day joke."
yeah,
It's like it's just like, "I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker." Oh, by
yeah.
the way,
Well,
she's like,
yeah, because
"Yeah, I need you to go along with this." For the yeah.
so what you're saying, Dave, is we need like a cut scenes of all the stuff that we're not seeing, where Muffy is trying to convince these people to go her way.
And it's like, yeah, and how does she know when to stop? She comes in acting psycho, and at which point did she be like, "I'm just kidding. I'm not really gonna kill you." I mean, imagine like somebody like just like beat the shit out of her.
Or yeah, someone, yeah, because she's a little person,
Yeah,
little young lady, and people like Arch, and some of them are pretty big people. Uh,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
Arch gets in the trap, but yeah, but really, but even some of the girls could have been, because she comes out of the closet when Nikki comes in there, and she comes out of the closet, and I guess at that point she's like, "Oh, Nikki, by the way, I need you in the closet with me."
yeah. If Nikki didn't like scream, why are you jumping out of the closet?
Yeah, well, but Nikki comes in and sees Chaz acting like he's dead.
Yeah.
She thinks there's a dead body in there, and then like suddenly the closet opens, and I mean too, like if you think about you're scaring somebody like this, what if Nikki
Scream.
panicked and ran and fell down the stairs and injured herself, It's like
Well, normally we
you,
would think about these, but because these are like glaring issues with each and every one of the kills in this movie, that's why we're thinking about it. I think that because it looks great the first time we're watching it, but when we figure out, when we all was revealed, it's like,
but then
well,
yeah. But they go up in the attic,
yeah, up
like
there,
yeah, they go up in the attic. Robin Kit, who are the protagonists, they go up in the attic, and then they found these. They,
the little dolls.
this is another thing. It's like they're checking everywhere. They're not like if people are dying and they're having to go hide. It's like where are they hiding? Because they're looking everywhere. They go up in the attic and look, and that's when they find the dolls of each of the characters. This is a really cool scene if this would have been
Mhm.
a legit movie. But like find the dolls, and the dolls are killed or broken up in the same way that the characters have supposedly died. Which
Yeah.
that's really cool. The dolls that were sitting on the table earlier.
Yeah, it's really cool, but you have to, as Muffy slash Buffy, you have to imagine that someone will actually find their way up into the fucking attic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, put it in the attic, and then you have to already account for the two characters that she killed in the bedroom, so she has to go up there and periodically change the dolls, you know?
Because you never know who will go up there. Yeah, I know. The logic for the movie is failure to communicate. But it's really cool to watch.
Yeah. But then, yeah, the next person they find is Hal does a faint death, like hanging in his room. That's a pretty elaborate one. He's hanging, and so it's a rig, but he has to act like he's dead, which would be a really hard thing to do
I didn't think about that. You're
in
absolutely
real
right.
life. But and then they Kit and Rob find a boat, and there's a letter on it that talks about Miss St. John escaping from a mental institution, and then they piece everything together. They have like a bunch. It's kind of like an escape room situation
Yeah.
where there's all these clues that
Uh,
Muffy's put all over the place. Which she like congratulates him later. She's like, "Man, I can't believe you found that. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. Go up in the attic and find the dolls, and go out in the boat and find
yeah.
the letter. And it's like, and then find in the basement. That's what they wrote on the wall." From when they were kids, like Muffy and Buffy, age like whatever, they wrote their names, and then like was it like some pictures and stuff. So
Yeah.
they had to find all that stuff. And I guess maybe Buffy, like an escape room situation, she in some way like had it figured where it would lead them from one to the other. But it's still a lot to believe.
Well, yeah, because unlike an escape room where you're going from one room to the next room, there is way too many possibilities for this because they're in a house on an island. Like the well sequence, the attic sequence, all these are just so many different locations for them to be able to piece the story together and figure it all out, which they don't actually figure it all out because it's all a joke on them, which is quite hilarious when after they figured out the clues that
Yeah,
it's not Muffy, it's Buffy who has
yeah.
escaped from a mental hospital and come back to her home and is masquerading as her twin sister and slowly killing people off. And
Yeah,
there's
they have a fake head too of Muffy. Like they have a
uh,
realistic fake head that they fall for, you know.
yeah, it's a really cool, elaborate story that would have made a really great slasher movie on its own.
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean,
You
that would have been
know,
awesome. It would have been awesome if it really was her twin sister come back and kill her, and she's killing everybody. They didn't even have to do the switcheroo. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And so, it leads to a little standoff between uh, Jesus, what's her name?
It's Kit.
Kit, Kit,
It's
and
that's
Buffy.
hilarious because that here's the thing, like Buffy or Muffy is getting so into this that she's chasing this girl with a knife,
Like,
and but it's also they also lock Rob. Yeah, which he's not in on either. They lock him out of the room, and he's like screaming like on the door, and he's like I love you, kid, I love you, and he's like and it's like he's locked out of the room, and then Meanwhile, Buffy's like chasing Kit around the room. Luckily, Kit is not much of a fighter because this
no.
would have not ended well for Buffy or Muffy.
Well, good thing that Kit does. Yeah, Kit doesn't like turn the tables on her or anything
Yeah,
like that.
she's gonna
Because
turn
we're
her.
not really told that the knife is a fake knife at all. She's
Yeah, yeah.
carrying a knife.
She's
Heaven
like way, yeah,
forbid.
yeah. She's way too into this. Like at this point, when you think about this scene,
Uh-huh.
and we see Muffy acting this crazy, coming after Kit, that what did she do with everybody else, and how long does she do it for? But at which point does she decide, okay, that's enough, and and it's like this is like a April Fool's Day joke that especially with Rob out there thinking that his girlfriend is getting killed, the kind of trauma that it could cause somebody, and it's like a really messed up, over the top thing.
It is, which is why it's funny when the door opens and he stumbles out and he's running to see what the hell's going
Yeah,
on and stumbles upon the
yeah,
little party where everyone's still alive. You see his look on his face, like, ah!
yeah. Yes,
It's
but yeah.
It's so great. That is a great look, although it's really weird that when Kit first sees all of that, she's thinking she's about to die at the hands of Buffy, the escaped mental patient. The room, everyone is in it just chilling as though nothing else around him or is happening. They're completely oblivious, and there's no sound. There's no
Yeah,
sound.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just dead silence, like it's a picture perfect like photograph that's still. And
yeah,
the shock on their on their faces is, I actually did like the shock factor, but it's, of course, you couldn't do that. You were like, these people are just waiting for this moment to happen. They have to be laughing and giggling behind the fucking door beforehand. I don't think they could be just that
yeah.
quiet.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Some of
Like, it's
these
the
people
first time
have
all of
no impulse control, you
yeah.
know?
Well, the thing is, it's the first time all of them have gotten together after they've all been killed. Like, they keep getting one more person added to the room, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got to explain everything again. But, so it's cool visually, but the
Yeah,
logic behind it is like, I don't think these
yeah,
people would be this fucking quiet, waiting for everything to unfold, and they don't know when it's all going to end. They just
yeah.
know to stay in the room quiet.
You know what would have been really cool? That she walked in and that scene happened the way that it does, but then she turned around and she was actually dead, and they were like ghost or something, you know? Yeah, that would be
Supernatural.
really effective because it would be like, oh, what? Well, she got murdered. Like, the main character got murdered, and it was so traumatic getting murdered that she didn't remember it. So
Mm,
that would have been
interesting.
cool. But like, yeah, but they're all like April Fool's Day,
Yeah.
we got you. And then the guy comes in there about peeing his pants and all that, and then it's like what gets me is like there's no because it's so far into the movie, they don't have much time at this point. There's no like letting Kit really process what had happened. She goes from being scared for her life to like they're all like laughing like oh and they talk about the whole plan and then they have bring in like the boat captain, the cop, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, I was a great actor in that scene."
Yeah, see, that's the odd thing, It's good that the actress, the Muffy Buffy character, has that moment to try to explain everything and tell the audience and the characters the gags that she was surprised worked. Because in theory, I'm guaranteeing you, they probably thought that by explaining away some of that stuff, that it would, audiences would forgive the movie
Yeah,
for the theatricality of it all. But the thing is, I think in the '80s, people were not expecting people to go back and rewatch the film for the details, like you would if you were watching like the Sixth Sense today, or I'm trying to think of a non not Shyamalan movie,
yeah.
or the one oh god, I can't think of
What's
the
it?
one, the
Shutter
game.
Island. Shutter Island.
Shutter Island, or The
Yeah,
Game.
yeah.
Like, The Game
The
is
game. Yeah,
is
yeah.
so well done that when I
Right.
rewatch that movie, even though I know the object of the game, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's still cool to watch that fucking movie.
Right. Yeah. The game is was that like Sean Penn and
Jump in and Michael Douglas.
Malcolm Douglas? Yeah. That that works. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's still like kind of annoying because you know that it's all set up, but the way that it's like a lot smarter than this
Yes.
film,
Yeah.
and it makes sense where I mean they could have done this in a way like that would have made more sense, but it's now here's the thing. It's like the Muffy character. Her here. It's so dumb. Her idea, which is a good idea. She wants to do a murder mystery island, but everybody already knows there's a murder mystery who's coming into it. It's not going to be like this, which that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense to pull this bullshit on her friends and make them think there's really a killer. While it should from the beginning, it would have made a movie. But like if you were doing this in real life, it would have been a lot smarter to let them know that that's what they were doing. That
Mhm.
they weren't like really like they weren't really doing a murder. I mean, but at the same time, they could have done the murder mystery, but then started to think it was really a murder mystery. It's sort of switcheroo. But I really think this movie would have worked a lot better had there really been some violence, some real violence. And I mean, I think that this when they, I feel like the trauma that it could cause Rob or Kit could have like come back in a way that they don't take it, that they take it.
Satisfying.
Yeah, they could have like tried to like kill her back or something, but I don't know. But there apparently there is like a second ending here, but they had a third ending that was different than that they shot a different ending than this other one, but it was still just as bad. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but, one thing I guess we didn't talk about real quick before we get into the two endings, but it's like the guy from the boat shows up when Rob. That's how Rob finds out it's all fake. Like Rob said, he's knocking at the door and he's like, "Kid, I love you." And then the guy from the boat who had his face all jacked up comes up to him, and then he takes his fake face off and he smacks, he sticks it to Rob's face, and then
Yeah.
Rob like runs off. So it's so
He's
goofy.
traumatized. He's like, I
Yeah,
thought this guy was almost dead in the
yeah,
hospital.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my God. And he's screaming as he's running out with the
yeah,
half
yeah.
face on him. Yeah.
But that guy, I mean, that Rob guy, like could have snapped. You know, I mean, like they really pushed him to the limit,
Yeah.
and that's what would have been that's what should have been the the ending with one of these characters getting pushed so far they just snap and really start to kill people, you know.
Yeah.
But
I
it
think the
yeah
reason, and now that we've all revealed, and if we haven't hinted at this enough for everyone who may have not seen this movie, that the whole movie is designed to be an April Fool's joke or a ruse. The thing is that the ruse is more on the audience and not so much the characters in the film, and that's, in my opinion, that's the reason why it's not so well received.
yeah
There are
that,
so
that's a good point. It's definitely on the audience. It
Yeah,
is.
it's on the
Yeah.
audience and not the characters, and I believe that that's the reason why people don't really. This film is infamous for a lot of bad, bad reasons. I don't want to say the movie is bad. I just want to say that the way in which it handles the material, because it's a really cool concept, but the way in which it's executed for an audience, it leaves us not satisfied with what we watched. Um,
Right, yeah, exactly. And it's yeah, because you feel I mean you feel tricked in a way
yeah,
beyond it being okay because it's so dumb. And
tricked is a good word.
yeah, I mean it's like and it you saw it coming, but it is but it's worse though than that because the reason it's worse is because a lot of it doesn't make sense
Hmm.
when you start to think about like we were talking about earlier, like each of the scenarios and how it just happened to work out so beautifully. Like every little thing, like the well, like
Hmm.
the guy getting caught in the trap, and then people not actually getting hurt and for these with these sort of things, you know.
Yeah, I kind of see the way the and you can say if I'm wrong on this one, because I don't know your opinion on this other movie I'm about to say, but the way this film its infamy and because of the ending makes me feel the same way that most audiences felt when they first watched the movie High Tension and the way that it
Yeah.
ended.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
I
Yeah.
it took me years to get past that ending. I loved that movie except for the ending because I thought the reveal was the worst thing possible. I think it did not play with the logic of the rest of the movie. They broke a bunch of rules, blah 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 blah. It took me a long
Yeah.
time to come to grips with that ending, and that's only because I read a lot of stuff on the intentions of Alexander Aja and his team when they crafted the film to begin with. And yeah, and
I would, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people were very angry about that. I was
yeah,
less angry. I still like the movie. I didn't like the twist that much, but that is it's the same, but it's different because you don't everything can make sense in High Tension because it's all in her head.
exactly.
This you can't make it make sense. I mean,
You can't
you
make it make
can,
sense.
but you can, but at the same time, it's like there's no way they could have pulled that shit off.
Well,
You
yeah,
know?
if for the audience's perspective, this film was designed to be a murder mystery. It was like Clue. like Clue.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it would have been much better, and I think the ideal behind it would have been much more well received. Actually, have anyone ever done a horror version of Clue? That would be fucking awesome. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
I
it's
think if they had approached it that way, I think like you'd be much more satisfied. And even that one has, I think, 4 or 5 different endings depending on which character is the villain. And I really like that.
well that I mean, there are movies that are like Clue that are horror movies. They can't call themselves Clue because they're they the Clue owns that right. But there are movies similar like that take place in Gothic mansions where people are killed. Um, one called Arnold. Do you ever see Arnold?
Why? I don't know. I had to. That one does not come to recall. I don't recall that one at all, though.
There's like several movies. Actually, I tend to like these type of movies about just like a Gothic mansion where a bunch of people are gathered and then they're all kind of started killed off in certain ways.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen a couple of really, really old ones. I'm trying to. I don't want to get the movies screwed up, but
Right,
I
right, right.
liked.
Well, the
I
old Dark House is a good example of an older
Well,
one like
yeah, I
that.
was going to say that, but that's created its own genre. The old dark,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's created its own genre of people who inadvertently are stuck in a place that they weren't intending to be at, and then something really bad happens in that house. The old dark house formula is what is in Stuart Gordon's Dolls, among a whole bunch of other things.
Well, the Arnold movie is a very bizarre movie. It has Roddy McDowall in it. He the character Arnold dies, and then he basically wants his corpse to stay in the house, and then people in the house, all his like relatives and wives and people that he knows are starting to get killed off throughout the film. It's a very
Mhm.
bizarre movie.
Yeah,
Um, and he's like married to somebody, like with this one younger girl. He's married to her, and she has to stay married to him even though he's dead
oh shit,
to be
okay,
able to keep the money. So but this movie, let's talk about the second ending.
okay.
So,
You've seen it, I've not
yeah,
seen it, so go ahead.
oh no, this is the ending in the movie. But
Oh,
like, yeah, yeah. But this, which I'm so after everything, the party, and then Muffy goes back up to her room, and the noose is hanging up from where Hal was hanging up, and she takes it down, and then there's a present on the bed, and she
oh,
opens it up, and it's the Jack in the Box from earlier. And this is a scene that could have made this movie okay. It was like she turns the Jack in a Box and it pops up, and here you're thinking, okay, now we're getting into something because we saw that opening credit sequence with the Jack in the Box, and now this is what the movie's about. And suddenly Nan, who hasn't really been that big of a character in the movie, like it pops up and she slits her throat. She slits like Muffy's throat, and then Muffy's like even thinks her throat's cut, and then she reaches, and then she realizes it's fake blood, and it's a
mhm.
second gag, and Nan's like, "I got you, April Fool's Day, bitch," but you know, but it's like, oh man, that would have been awesome if like Nan just killed her, like for real, and it's like that. I think if Nan had killed her for real, this movie would be a lot more liked.
Yeah, you bitches, you set this joke on us now.
Yeah, because Nan's a character that you didn't get to see a lot of, and apparently, the only thing that messes it up is that Nan was a character who ended up going along with the whole charade.
Well,
But
she's also the one that says the stuff that she finds was very close to her personal her life. Like like it was really really personal, which is why Muffy apologizes at the
yeah,
party if there's any if some of this stuff was a little bit too personal. She didn't mean it to be because she didn't know. So it
but
would be
yeah,
cool
yeah, yeah,
if she slit her throat.
yeah. I mean, I think that's how it should have ended. I don't know what they were thinking with making a second April Fool's Day joke. It's like, are you serious? Um, the third one was just as bad. The one they originally shot another longer sequence where everybody else came back to the island and they tricked Muffy again into thinking that they're all in on it, not just Nan. It was like a trick that they all got her back.
Oh,
So
that seems
and
weird.
yeah, yeah, it would have been a very like convoluted, like longer sequence to set up. So I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't
But
know about
that would
you.
have been just as shitty as what we got.
So I do have to ask you, since we've been going through this and we've all had our opinions on the way that the ending unfolds, do you believe that the ending, the resolution of this whole story really destroys the movie for an audience?
I think it does. I think it does. I think there's a lot of positive qualities to this movie. I think it looks great. I think the acting's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it actually works while you're watching it until you find out about the twist. And then the second twist ended up not being a twist. It's like what that's like the biggest like it's like he cut somebody arm like you cut a wound on him, and then the second twist is like they took salt and just rubbed it into the wound. You know what I'm saying? It's
No,
like
I don't agree with you. I don't disagree with you
yeah,
there. That's exactly how I felt when I rewatched the movie.
it's like it's almost like a joke that the filmmakers played on the audience, and it's
Yeah, I think this is a really well done film with some great ideals that because of the fact that they wanted to be different at the very end and think like they're going to surprise the audience with the April Fool's joke, it falls flat because it
yeah.
wasn't adequately all set up to make that be logical, and it ruins a rewatch because once you rewatch it, you really connect the dots and you realize how really bad the movie is at making this seem like it's one big April Fool's joke on the characters and not on the audience. When I rewatched it, that's what I felt let down because that's what it felt like. It felt like an April Fool's joke for me as an audience member and not the characters in the film.
Yeah, and this is exactly what it is. And like, really, this like the first time I watched it, I was a teenager, and I was annoyed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of felt the same way about it, where I was really into it until I found that's the problem. It's just so well done
Yeah.
until it's not. And then, and then the second time I watched it, I liked it okay. I didn't quite remember exactly what happened in the film, so it was kind of like interesting seeing it again. But then that was like a year or two back, and when I watched it this time with the third thing, already knowing both the endings, watching it for the purpose of trying to figure out how they could have pulled this off and how which scenes don't make sense and things like that. That was really like it was a bit of a drag watching it the third time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm glad that we were able to finally talk about this movie. When we talk about movies for you, the audience out there, the films that are very infamous for multiple different reasons, or the films that we in general, think are not very good. We always like to discuss them because we want to get to the nitty gritty on why we think these films are not that good. Um, this one, I think we get cheated as an audience member by the filmmakers who really wanted to surprise the audience as much as possible with this cool concept that they crafted for an April Fool's movie. I literally think that they had this great concept that they went, "Oh, we're gonna fool everybody with this concept," but they didn't commit to having the setup make sense. And so it's a lackluster and not so interesting rewatch. Now, I do believe I like the cast. I really do like the cast. The cast is really good. This cast holds up still. Whenever
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw this in the '80s or the late '80s or early '90s to now, I think the cast still holds up. And if I cut the movie right before they open the doors to reveal that all the other people are alive behind them, I think I would have been satisfied
Yeah,
somewhat.
yeah.
I could just say, beep, it goes black as Buffy brings up the knife to kill Kit, and then it goes to black, and the movie's over. I was like, oh yeah, everyone
Yeah,
dies, great.
yeah. I mean, it would have been it would have still not been very good because it would have been, but it would have been it still would have
Lacks
it
that.
wouldn't have left an impression. It wouldn't have left an
No,
impression, but it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been a like a you know it wouldn't have been an annoyance if that had happened.
well, this movie definitely left an impression. It probably is definitely not the impression the filmmakers intended, but it definitely left an impression.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Dave, Is there anything else we need to discuss about April Fool's Day?
No, I mean, really, we could have talked about this in like probably 5 minutes, you know. But I mean, I feel like it's nice to go ahead and go through it because I really
Yeah,
like. I guess the biggest thing that I enjoyed talking about was just like this is no way they could have done this shit.
yeah, yeah.
Like I mean, I don't know. I like a lot of movies that are bad, but it's it's like when they're trying to trick you and then they're trying to be more clever than they're trying to be more clever than they actually are with the film, and then it doesn't hold up. Is when it's which I knew that immediately after the first time watching. I was like, no, like I think about immediately, like how do they do the boat shit? How do they do the well thing? And it's just
Mhm.
like the first time I watched it, I was like thinking that stuff. I was just like, man, that's some bullshit. You know,
Well,
it's
for me, and I've said this plenty of times on this podcast, one of my biggest problems with a lot of films is the film's logic. I can forgive a lot of stories that that don't make sense logic wise in general for the real world, but when a film breaks its own film logic, it takes me out of the film, no matter how good the film might be. And this film takes me out of that logic because it's a movie that's made for audience reaction and not for the characters within the story. And that's why I can't get past the film. There's a reason why I forgive High Tension now, years after I originally saw it. I can forgive it because within the film's logic, it works. This one doesn't work. It doesn't work. It breaks its own rules and it becomes an annoyance by the time it gets to the end. And you're like, oh, dude, this fucking movie just, oh, shit. You know. And
yeah.
so, yeah. And so that's one of my biggest pet peeves about a lot of films. If you break your own logic that you have crafted within the story of your film, you have done a pretty bad job as a storyteller and a filmmaker. That's how I see it, and I think this is a perfect example of a film that does that. So, all right. So I know you're excited about this part now, Dave. All right. So for everyone out there, what we love to do is we love to rate the films between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. But what we love to do is we like to take an object, quote, or saying within the film to attribute to our rating. Dave, I know you're excited. What is your rating for this film, and what is the quote, object, or saying you want to attribute to your rating?
So let's go ahead and take this dude's face, the boat face that gets mangled, that he takes off and slaps onto the other guy's
Buck's
face.
face.
Or Buck takes it off and slaps it onto like Rob's face. But this is a tough one to rate because there are, like we said, some positive qualities. I don't want to be really that harsh with it, but I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars.
Okay. All right. So, I'm you're gonna do you did a little bit better than me, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
do I'm
Well, I mean, I rate it. I do rate it there just because of the actors really
yeah,
and how much fun they seem to be having and the way that it looks. It's a tough one
it's
though,
a
and
tough one.
I watched like some of their behind the scenes interviews, which made me kind of feel more for them, and like I think if it's a fun movie, but it's also a very frustrating movie too.
It's a good word, frustrating. That is a
Yeah,
great word to describe this movie. It's frustrating because I'm gonna give it two shit. This is a hard one to actually figure out there. I'm gonna give it two sets of dead little dolls in the attic, I guess.
yeah.
This was hard because there's no violence. Normally I try and do something that's violent, but there's no violence.
Right, right, yeah. There's also the fake heads in the well,
Yeah.
and the dolls are cool though. It's a cool little thing. It
Uh,
could have been like used to newspaper articles.
but we've discussed it. This film had the makings of being a. If they hadn't been stuck with trying to do the gag at the last act of this film, this
Yeah,
could have been a great movie from the '80s. That would
man.
be
If they,
fun.
yeah, man, fuck it. Like Buffy turns to Muffy. If that was real,
Yeah,
man, it would have been. That was awesome. That was an awesome plot twist.
yeah.
When in the way that Deborah Foreman's acting when she's acting like she's Buffy, and like if I don't, I mean, I don't know how they would have ended it, but. but
I don't
they
either.
just they ended it in the worst way possible.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think we've touched upon this already, that the acting is really good in this movie. It still holds up, in my opinion. The visuals, the cinematography, and all that really holds up really well for this '86 movie. We get stuck on the fucking reveal at the end. Like, people get annoyed when on the endings for an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah,
On
they just then
their movie.
they disregard the whole movie. Like The Village, like, people hate it. Now, like I like The Village, you know.
Yeah,
It's
I love The Village too, but so many people hated the ending that they just consider the whole movie bad. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
wow, it just, But
yeah,
even like him, you could have something brilliant like The Sixth Sense, or you can have something that's controversial and really polarizing, as you said already, like The Village or The Happening,
yeah.
another polarizing movie with a fucked up
Yeah.
ending. But
Yeah. The happening too, though. I didn't hate it. I was like, when I was watching, I was like, I was all right with it. It's surprising that people were hating it as
yeah,
much as they did. But I was
yeah,
just like, I didn't think it was like that good. But I was like, I wasn't like pissed about it, you know.
there's people's expectations of a
Yeah,
Shyamalan movie that when it doesn't meet or exceed those expectations, they look down upon it, and that's I see part of that is the reason I think the animosity towards this film. People's expectations are not met or exceeded; they are brought down tenfold by the ending, and
yeah.
so people just kind of disrespect and forget this movie ever existed, except for to talk bad about it in the dark corners of the horror film world. So, but with that, I hope you all have enjoyed listening to us talk about this film, April Fool's Day, which surprisingly is not being released on April Fool's, but you get to enjoy this for years to come on April Fool's Day or any other day of the week or year as you like, now that we have discussed it. Make sure to like, follow, share, subscribe. Do that thing you do with your favorite podcast and your favorite podcast apps, Spotify or YouTube. Regular episodes are every Wednesday at 8 a.m. We have specially themed episodes that are revealed every Monday at 8 a.m., but those are not all the time, so you have to check our schedule to see when that happens. Also, don't forget to check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, in which we delve into the great filmography that is the Hammer Studios from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. If you're a classic film lover, you will love that podcast. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we wish you a pleasant day. And when April Fool's Day comes around, please don't put any pranks on me. Have a good day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production. Written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers. Executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.